Tonight, President Biden will deliver his first State of the Union address. It won't be the speech he wanted to give. His team reportedly has been rewriting given the crisis in the Ukraine, but still it is expected to be somewhat of a traditional State of the Union and not solely focused on what's happening in Ukraine. The country and world will be watching as he attempts to balance the message on the economy and his domestic agenda with the war in Europe. And as investors, we will be hanging on every word. Well, at least scanning the transcript for some key words, points that could boost our investment thesis or make us pull back a little. Today on Dumb Money, we're going to reveal our trade on the Biden State of the Union. We are Dumb Money.
Three friends who turned $30,000 into $30 million using nothing more than Twitter and a zero commission trading account.
The suits that work on Wall Street, they call those people the smart money. That's not us.
Our goal is to help level the playing field for everyday investors.
We are Dumb Money.
Hey there, Dave here, along with Chris and Jordan. We are Dumb Money. Welcome to Dumb Money Live, my fellow Americans and viewers from around the world. The state of dumb money is strong. But we do need your help. The best way to let us know that you're paying attention right now is by tapping the like button. We are live. We see them in real time. The algorithm sees them. So go ahead, tap away. We appreciate each and every one of you.
There you go.
All right. So are you guys as intrigued as I am about how the State of the Union is going to play out tonight?
You know why I'm super intrigued this year is because of the noise factor. I think ordinarily when you have these State of the Unions, everyone's so focused on, because listen, most of the issues are kind of pre-announced. We know what the speech is going to be, more or less. We don't know what the emphasis is. We don't know the degree to which people will hook on to certain issues or not. But people are kind of trading it. This year, we're in a potential, a major war, right? And so I think the focus for Wall Street is elsewhere, and there might actually be an opportunity to arbitrage some of the information that's going to come out tonight that maybe people, are not realizing is going to come out. Hey, by the way, we're not financial advisors. These are our trades. This is what we're doing based on our risk tolerance. So feel free to do your own analysis, poke holes in our thesis, and discuss it on dumbmoney.tv/Discord. That's where our community comes together to strategize, right? And everyone makes their own decisions.
And I will say that the, like any other State of the Union, the White House does pre-publish what the speech is going to be about. We already saw yesterday they put out the fact sheet, background on the remarks. I've read this, every word of it, but the things that I'm looking for specifically are any reference to batteries, electric vehicles, billions of dollars spent, any spending that's going to benefit any specific industry. And so that's really kind of where I wanted to focus today.
Yeah, totally agree. I think there's a couple interesting things that are going to happen tonight, both that could be positive and negative for the market in general. I think as a general, let's just talk about like market-wide before we get into granular picks. I think the fact that he is supposed to talk about tax policy tonight, which is something we haven't talked about in a while, and I read a statement to where essentially he is going to discuss how businesses in America's wealthy should pay their fair share. That's going to come up again tonight.
And specifically, the White House release says that he's going to outline a proposal to make sure corporations and the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share, while making clear that no one making under $400,000 a year should see their taxes increase.
Oh, okay. So how do we think people will interpret that? What will be the emphasis? We haven't had this discussion in a long time. I think I'm more concerned, Dave, with the business side of that conversation than the personal side of that, because we always know it starts at one level and goes down, but the business community is most likely to react to any sort of negative emphasis on reinvigorating that conversation, especially if they think he will have support, because the personal side of it, right, is going to be lifted to a level to where maybe he doesn't get as much backlash from the middle class. So I think that's a possible negative that we need to be aware of. Also, again, that push for the $15 minimum wage nationally probably isn't as big of a negative as it used to be, because it's been so well telegraphed. So many companies have been preparing for it. Is it really a surprise at this point? Half of companies already do it, right?
The one thing that kind of stood out in this pre-release is the call for tipped and minimum wage and sub-minimum wage people for that to be eliminated. And that could affect the restaurant industry, where the minimum wage is very different than the normal $15. In a tipped restaurant industry, it's like $2 an hour.
Dave, let me just say something. In those states, Texas being one of them, where we have our restaurant, that would completely destroy the restaurant industry. And what I mean by destroy it is obviously adjustments will be made and prices will increase to adjust for it. The last thing restaurants need right now is the restaurant industry. I think that has potential to be a net negative, depending on how the news gets interpreted. But that's not a positive thing for the industry at all. And I think in general, yet another inflationary type of statement. Listen, I don't know how big of a deal that's going to be tonight. Is it a one-liner?
I think it's a one-liner. I think just judging by the length of the release and the amount focused on it, I think he's going to go through a laundry list of agenda items, and the $15 minimum wage, which specifically does include the ending of that tipped minimum wage and also sub-minimum wage for people with disabilities. I think that's going to be on the agenda. It's going to be listed, but I don't see it getting 2 minutes of airtime. I see it getting like 45 seconds.
I think the average restaurant margins in the U.S. is like 2% margin. They make a 2% margin on their sales, and restaurants don't do 10 million in sales, right? So just think about that for a second. A restaurant that's doing $1 million.
So what would happen though, right? So basically, people would just stop. Like the tip, so people don't
restaurants
tip around the world, right?
Yeah, it could convert to a system that is more like every other country in the world, where you're instead of expected to being in a 15 to 25% tip, you're expected to leave $1 just as a thank you, and then the restaurant would pay the employees. But we know that in our restaurants they make way more than $15 an hour, and so that balance is very difficult.
It makes it into a really difficult situation for employees and restaurants, where you're right, waiters and bartenders and staff make way more than the minimum wage in those situations, and it just makes it convolutes the whole atmosphere and culture of how they work. And like in our staff, they don't want it, right? That's what I've been told. They don't want it. They want to keep things exactly how they are right now. So it's a difficult issue. I don't think that's the main driving issue today. I think probably the biggest opportunities for me that I'm looking for. And by the way, I want to say this. I did buy new puts on the market yesterday, in part because I feel that there are probably more negatives than positives that could come out tonight as it relates to the market. But mainly due to another major risk that we'll discuss in tomorrow's show. Okay, so I'm not gonna say anything more than that, but we'll discuss it in tomorrow's show. But I did buy. But basically,
it's just like an unknown. There's a lot of unknowns out there in the world, and that is something the market doesn't like. We've seen these little rallies, but how strong is it? And while you were talking, I was pulling up the restaurant industry just to see how they're doing. A bunch of them are down right now. Cracker Barrel's down about 6% today. Cheesecake Factory's down 5.5%. Texas Roadhouse down 4%. Darden Group down. I mean, these are stocks that you would expect to go down if a minimum wage increase hit.
Yes, but Dave, I think the real interesting thing that's going to happen tonight is more closely related to Biden's discussion around his energy plans, right? And we all know that he's not going to come out and say what the Republicans want him to say, which is, hey, we're going to open up Alaska and open up federal lands for exploration, and we're going to be energy independent through oil and natural gas. That's not going to happen, but we know there's tremendous pressure right now for America to become energy independent. And according to my research, I'll just read it. The president also plans to focus on other efforts to support more, and this is, by the way, this is written, I think, before the last couple of days, to support more homegrown manufacturing, including the Department of Energy's plans to provide $3 billion in funding to manufacture electric vehicles and batteries in the U.S. So getting back to the same old stock I've been talking about forever, I want to remind everyone that Lithium America, LAC, which is down today because they discussed splitting the company in two between their U.S. and non-U.S. plants. That literally is the biggest beneficiary of making batteries in the U.S. You can't get a bigger beneficiary than Lithium America because they are waiting on their U.S. federal approval that was supposed to potentially happen as early as this month. And they just announced last week that as a positive, they received all their state approvals in Nevada, which they've been waiting for years. But the federal approval was pushed back to as late as autumn of this year. That's like a 6-month delay, 6 or 7 month delay. That's why the stock did not really pop that much on the news on Friday. And now with this news of them splitting up, no one knows how to interpret that. The stock's down a little today. I actually think I might buy more Lithium America in the next 3 hours before this market ends, because I feel like that is just a massive positive. Guys, I think if I had to put the percentage likelihood of them receiving federal approval with this administration pinning everything on our energy independence in EV, not in oil and gas, how do they not get this deal approved? I think it's just a matter of when they get it approved. Unfortunately, it's kicked the can down 6 months, but I think it's almost a sure thing, right? So, like, I can't think of a better opportunity right now for myself. I'm not a financial advisor than Lithium America.
I'm not an investor in Lithium America, and I just think there are too many unknowns. How far could it be pushed back? To me, I'm not going to invest in that. I'm still heavily invested in Tesla as my big EV and battery play. And for me, I think that makes more sense. And that quote that you read did basically paraphrase what the White House said directly. The Department of Energy is making available nearly $3 billion. That's the biggest spending mentioned in the pre-release about what will be talked about tonight in the State of the Union. So $3 billion. All the other amounts were in the millions. That was $3 billion. To bolster, and it's specifically domestic manufacturing, which is good for you, of advanced battery for electric vehicle and energy storage.
But Dave, they announced today that they're looking at splitting the company. The stock is down $1.70 on that news to like 26 or something like that. Now, here's the thing. I think part of the reason why they're actually wanting to split the company between, I think it's the Argentina division that's going live, like literally in the next couple months, okay? Manufacturing is happening there. And the American division is because the administration, if they have a pure American company that is literally end-to-end supply chain for EV in the US only, I think that positions them way stronger with the administration to get all of the perks rather than the company being half American, half South American. I think that's why they're splitting this company up, and I think it just might be a genius move, and nobody is seeing it. No one's seeing it because they weren't expecting the news today. They freaked out. They're like, why are they splitting it? I actually think it might be the most genius move ever to have a pure American battery supply chain, which will, by the way, be by far the largest in North America, definitely the first to go live in North America. I think people are pissed because everyone wants to make money today. The fact that they have to wait 6 more months for the federal approval is a disappointment. I am happy to wait 6 months in this environment. Nothing big is happening in the next 6 months. Have you ever seen a nastier 6 months for the market than the next 6 months? Nothing exciting. I'm happy to sit on the sidelines of Lithium America for 6 months waiting for that federal judgment to happen. I feel like it's a 95% chance of happening.
Are there
September,
any
October.
other companies that do what Lithium America does in America, that are solely in America?
Nowhere near as close. Lithium America has been working on this for like a decade. Do you know how hard it is to get approval to actually mine lithium in this country? The amount of local, county, city, regional, state. I mean, you have to go through the environmental commissions. You have to fight in court for years and years and years, and nobody appreciates everything that this company has been through to get to this point. And they are just going to be there ready to go right at the perfect time when everybody's like, we need energy independence. We still have the Democrats in office for another 2 years. They're not going to start drilling for more oil. We know that's not going to happen. They only have one way to make this happen. And there's like literally one company that has the capability to start doing this right now. You know who else they're meeting with? They're meeting with the an ex executive at Tesla. I forget his name. Has an amazing private company that's going to be recycling lithium from batteries, but they are like not even started yet. They're like trying to recycle cell phone batteries to get lithium. They are so far down the road. They won't be manufacturing anything meaningful for probably 5 to 10 years, quite honestly. Private company, you can't invest them in anyway. But like, this is it. This is the big play, I think. By the way, I will agree with you, Dave. Tesla might actually be the big retail investor play off of tonight, though. So I'm actually considering maybe buying some calls in Tesla today too, just because I just know retail investors are gonna. You know how it is. Anytime we talk about EV, US, I mean, come on. Elon right now, that's the best thing we have going here, right? Is that we have Elon here.
But do you look at Tesla, even though they've got, I mean, they're split between US, Europe, and China. So I just don't know if they'd really be as big of a beneficiary in that case.
But they are the big, like, they're the behemoth in EV, and all of the EV SPACs are basically down. Like, all of the other players in the space, regardless of size, and nobody comes close.
They're not a manufacturing company. They're a data company.
It doesn't matter. It's the retail perspective. I do want to get to the comments. Someone said I'm just regurgitating Dante's thoughts. Here's the thing. I love Dante. He's who I recommended for anything EV. I have not read a single thing that he said in like over a month. I just, for not any reason, the fact that he's also saying this just substantiates my feelings, because like I had no idea that he felt this exact way about Lithium America. So I'm not purposely regurgitating anything I've read from him, but the fact that he feels this way too is phenomenal.
Isn't that the Twitter account that you initially started researching Lithium America based on?
Well, Dante's Trading is a friend of mine who was probably had the biggest year as a retail trader, I think, of any retail trader in the history of the stock market in 2020. Well over, I don't know if he wants me to say how much. I mean, I think he was okay with it. Well over $100 million, I think, as a retail trader that year. He won our investment competition, and the guy has spent 8 years knee-deep studying the EV space, in lithium specifically, and battery supply chain specifically. And he was the first one to kind of get me on to Lithium America early days. Now, my other friend Trishul is really big on some of the Australian lithium plays, which, by the way, are amazing. But again, I think tonight is about energy independence. They are under so much pressure to lay out a plan for energy independence. It's not going to appease anyone on the right, because it's not going to happen like that, right? But I think this could be the moment potentially for LAC. We'll see. Anyway, what else we got? That's not the only thing Biden's saying tonight that I think is super interesting. I am a little bit...
Those are the ones that I was
another
interested
short
in.
play.
You have a short play?
Short play. Yeah, so okay. Support for the PRO Act. President Biden plans to affirm his support for the PRO Act, a bill that would, among other things, help gig workers unionize by redefining the meaning of employee. Well, let's take a look at what's going on with Uber right now and Lyft, because, guys, that is, I mean, if he ends up focusing on that tonight, that is not good news for Uber and Lyft. They've already fought that battle in California and won, right? But now if if he tries to shut that down federally, that is a massive issue for Uber and Lyft to have unionized employees on a federal level. Listen, can they get it done? I don't know that he can get it done, but if he really pounds the table with that tonight, that I can't imagine that doing anything but being a negative for Uber and Lyft tomorrow. So if I'm thinking about trading this speech tonight, I think I would probably trade short Uber and or Lyft, trade short potentially any companies that would be on the wrong end of the minimum wage, even though I don't think that's as big of a factor. But companies like Five Below, for example, really get crushed because all their employees are minimum wage, and I don't think they pay $15. I think they really pay minimum wage wherever they can get away with it, and they're on kind of laser thin margins as a company. I also think potentially restaurants would be a potential short tonight. I think anyone related to EV is a possible long, especially anyone that's in EV for U.S. based battery supply chain. Market in general, I would say short, not just for tonight's reasons, but for a reason we'll talk about tomorrow. So yeah, those are my trades at least. Jordan, what do you think, man? I'm kind of quiet.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think of what's going to come out tonight. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with healthcare. I'm interested to see what his remarks are towards this. The only thing that I can really think of right now is the situation in Ukraine. And I'm really interested to see what he says there. We missed a huge trade with Lockheed Martin over the past few days. It has exploded. I just want to know if he's just trying to calm America's nerves, or if he's going to try to ratchet up support for Ukraine, right? And I think there is some interesting opportunity that could come out of that.
So what do you think? What do you think? What is that, Dave?
This is Lockheed Martin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we missed that one. That's probably the easiest trade to make, and we totally missed that one.
Well,
we talked.
We were
about
talking
it,
about it. It's
but
just
we were negative. We were not. We thought it was.
Yeah.
I think at the time we were thinking that these are the American stocks that if we were in a war, that those are the ones. But
if we just go to dumb, like you've always said, just go to dumb. That's the dumbest trade you can make, right? It's just to buy Lockheed.
What's the easy? What are retail investors thinking?
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what though? By the way, people are asking about crypto. I don't know that he's going to get into a listen, there's a lot of stuff to talk about tonight between the war, energy, all the stuff. It's been, he really wanted to go in deep on energy and infrastructure this last week before this whole Russia-Ukraine thing happened. That's why I know that will be a big part of his emphasis tonight. I don't think he wants to muddy that with crypto talk, even though we know they're negative crypto. I don't think he's going to go there. So the crypto's been on fire the last few days as the entire world is waking up to the fact that if crypto is the one safe place for your money that the governments can't just shut down and freeze. So we're having massive rubles being converted to crypto the last 48 hours. I wonder who that is. I think it's both regular people, but mainly Russian oligarchs that have billions of dollars that before their accounts got shut down, or any accounts that didn't get shut down, they've been moving into Bitcoin. We know there's data that shows tremendous ruble to Bitcoin transactions the last 48 hours. I think on top of that, everyone's just getting a sense that regardless of what you think of Bitcoin, it is a safe currency from government control, and this is a wake-up call to anyone that lives in an area where they think they might be at risk of a government. It started
with the Canadian truck drivers, right? And now we have two examples of how truly decentralized currency might be beneficial to you if you're in a situation where the government doesn't agree with your ability to transact.
Yep. By the way, someone
wanted
me to disclose.
There's still a weak point, and that is getting into and out of exchanges, right? And so there's been talk of trying to regulate exchanges and get the exchanges to, ban certain people in certain countries from being able to transact on those. It's been unsuccessful so far, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in that arena.
Someone in the comments asked me to reveal the degree that I'm in Lithium America. I think it's a fair ask. It's about 7% of my portfolio. It is my second largest position after Amazon. So I just wanted to disclose that to everyone here. I also own it in my charitable foundation. It's one of my largest positions in the charitable foundation as well. I don't own any options on it right now, but I might before the day is over. Yeah, so that's that. By the way, someone mentioned TAN, right? So solar.
Solar
Okay.
was noticeably missing from the White House pre-release. So actually, if solar comes up tonight, I will be surprised. I think the market will be surprised. That might help the solar ETF.
It's got a huge
swinging
lift,
up a little
Dave,
bit right now, but it kind of just, this is a 1-year chart. It basically has been on the downslide.
But look at the last week. My goodness. I'd have I don't know. That's a risky move. That last week, that is a massive move. Obviously that move in solar was in part due to the price of gas and oil, right? I mean, listen, solar is looking really good right now at these oil prices if they stay up here, right? The $100 plus level. So I don't think it had anything to do with today's speech, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to say anything regarded to electrification stands to benefit from tonight, in my opinion, right? Like that's what I see out of tonight.
Yeah, me too.
I just think that in America we don't really benefit as much. You know, we're not tied to Russian, energy as much as they are in Europe. So I don't know to the extent that he's going to make a big deal out of those things. Now I know it's all interconnected, and these companies could also benefit in Europe by the transition. But I don't know if just that he's going to have talking points on those items necessarily, because they don't directly affect us as much.
Yeah, by the way, Pedro, thank you. Redwood Materials is the recycling company that kind of I don't want to call it a spin-off from Tesla, but really one of Tesla's chief executives started that company. And it's probably the hottest company in electrification right now in the private space. It's the one that if they want an IPO, they can IPO. And I would want in that IPO big time for the amount of heat it would be getting in the market.
Yeah, and just I saw in the comments also a comment from Alan about the producers of the materials used to create solar panels. That would benefit China, and so if we're talking energy independence, solar does have a component dependence.
Yeah, I'm not going to get too fancy, guys. I'm going to stick with the obvious plays here in energy independence, which to me is Lithium America. I mean, it's like
so you're looking at Lithium America options. I might be looking at it as an entry point for me because it has been kind of in a downward trend, and I do think that, especially if they split the company and we're truly looking for a U.S. only lithium mining company, that's what intrigues me, is because where else are you going to find that? Like I'm just looking at these other companies. Some of them source in the U.S., and I would have to do a little more research about which ones source specifically lithium in the U.S. But I think that actually makes sense. You may have convinced me, Chris.
It's a hard stock to buy. I mean, it's just such a frustrating stock to trade, though. It's like it's.
I know. I was in it, and basically it went up and then went down, and I broke even-ish, I believe. Yeah. I'm sure the comments will remind me how much or little I actually made on that.
I just think
right now it's down 6% today, and that makes me think, I'd like to maybe buy this dip.
This is why I just think this is a tough time to trade and buy things in general, just because volatility just flies through the roof and everything goes down.
But what do you know about some of these other lithium stocks? Do either of you know about like a Livent, which is a U.S.-based company that has some mining in U.S. but
Livent's they're a major player, but again, I think listen, Dave, if you want a pure play on American lithium, it does not get any better, in my opinion, than LAC. By the way, I say it's hard to trade. I should probably buy these things before we start the episode. I'm like the opposite of any YouTuber. I just bought 5,000 shares just a second of Lithium America. And it was hard because I'm sure there's other people watching this buying, which don't do that. I always say don't do that because it artificially props the stock up when you buy at times like this. But I just bought 5,000 shares more just this second.
No, this is a 1-day chart. It's not spiking or anything. It's
Well, no,
definitely-
because there's downward pressure today because of this split, you know? So, listen, I believe in Lithium America longer term, obviously. By the way, guys...
yeah, for me, this wouldn't be
really
a short term. I'm not going to buy options. I would just buy some stock. But I then have to decide what I want to sell because I don't want to be more in margin than I already am.
Yeah, Dave, I have to hop. I'm in a meeting that you're in as well. It starts in 5 minutes, and we have to drive to it. But I will say that on tomorrow's episode, I think we're going to do it tomorrow, there is a relatively controversial trade that I know me and Dave do not agree on because we had kind of an argument about it yesterday. So that will be the topic of tomorrow's episode. You don't want to miss it. Please don't just follow us, but also hit the notifications bell so you know about these episodes. Tomorrow, I can't do an 11 a.m. Central, Dave. If we could do maybe a 10:30 Central, which would be 11:30 Eastern.
Let me check my... yeah,
That's
I can
why
do that.
you have to hit the notification bell, because otherwise you won't know the timing. We're not always at the same exact time.
We're the most random YouTube channel. If you're looking for predictability, this is the wrong place.
Yeah, so sorry about that, Dave. I have to take this meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I can do that.
Okay,
It's
awesome.
hey, check with everyone who's watching at home to make sure it's okay with them. Give us a that works in the comments if that works for you.
All right. Tomorrow is an episode you don't want to miss. Let's end this so I can at least get to our meeting, even if you're late, Dave.
We're like the exact same. We're equidistant from our destination, and we will see you there. And for all of us at Dumb Money, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.